Could Jonathan Majors return to the MCU as Kang the Conqueror? This question has been asked before many times, but it needs to be asked once again. Perhaps now even more so than any time before, as Jonathan Majors is making his acting return and has recently won an award and has been praised for his perseverance going through everything that he has been recently going through. And in this moment, it's really important to acknowledge that Marvel Studios has fired people before and brought them back. The perfect example is James Gunn. Most people know what happened, but he got in trouble due to some tweets. Marvel Studios fired him. He issued an apology and Marvel Studios rehired him. So Marvel Studios has already proven that they can and are willing to hire people back that they have fired in the past. Now, of course, I'm not saying that that is definitely going to happen with Jonathan Majors, but it has been, and I still think it currently is, a possibility. And like I stated, it might be more of a possibility now than ever. And another thing to acknowledge is the Good Morning America interview that they did with Jonathan Majors immediately after he was found guilty. A lot of people thought that that was really interesting because Good Morning America is part of ABC News, which is owned by Disney, who just fired Jonathan Majors. So when that happened, a lot of people thought that it was pretty weird. Was that Disney's really weird way of kind of giving another chance to Jonathan Majors, or trying to gauge what the public was thinking about him at the time, giving him the opportunity to explain his own side of the story? It kind of felt like that, but again, we have no idea of knowing what really the purpose was for that. But like I mentioned, Jonathan Majors is now back to acting again. He has been cast in a movie. Granted, it's an indie movie, but he is back at it, and he has publicly stated that he does want to continue acting, and he does appear to think that he is going to return and recover from everything that has happened to him. And like I mentioned, he just won an award. He won the Perseverance Award at the Hollywood Unlocked Impact Awards, in which he stated in his 17-minute long speech, perseverance means what? Perseverance means persistence in doing something despite difficulty or delay. And the God I serve has put me in a position where I've had to embody that word more than I wished or wanted. And again, we'll go over more things he said. It was a long speech. It was 17 minutes long. But basically, he has made a point. He has made it clear that he is going to return to doing what he loves, doing his art, as he calls it, acting. And as I mentioned, he was cast in a film recently. He is starring in a supernatural revenge thriller called Merciless. And it's actually going to be directed by Martin Villeneuve, who is the brother of Denis Villeneuve, the director of the new Dune films and other movies like Blade Runner 2049. So a lot of people are thinking this is it. This is his big comeback. Even though this is just an indie film, it's the start of him beginning to get back into Hollywood, and I would say restarting his career, but his career is seemingly not over. And I do believe a lot of people out there, considering the fact that we have seen a lot of petitions to get Jonathan Majors back as Kang in the MCU, I believe a lot of people think even though he was found guilty that he really wasn't guilty, or that even with the charges placed against him, he should not have lost his role as Kang the Conqueror in the MCU. And it's very clear that he still has very many supporters out there, some really big supporters out there who he mentions in his thank you speech when he accepted his award yesterday. When he accepted the award, he started off by talking about sort of his feelings and his perspective on everything. And he stated, as a black man in the criminal justice system, I felt anger, sadness, hurt, surprise. When they snatched me up out of my apartment in handcuffs, I didn't feel like Jonathan Majors, Mr. Creed, Mr. Kang. I felt like a little scared, weak boy, despite the support and evidence that was in my favor. I knew it was bad. And it was bad because of who I was and what I am. This is what happens to black people all too often. So even right now, Jonathan Majors is of course still saying he was innocent in the entire situation. He's so surprised that he was found guilty and things went the way they did in the courtroom because he believes he is an innocent man. Now, throughout his speech, he thanks a lot of people, big names like Tyler Perry, Whoopi Goldberg, Will Smith, along with many others, and he stated that these people have supported him. They have been there for him. So clearly he has the support of a lot of big people in the industry still. And I'm sure a lot of people do believe that he's innocent. And in his speech, he states several times that he's not perfect, that he's imperfect. And he mentions God several times throughout this speech, and he says God has taught him that it is not about being flawless, but it's about constantly learning and growing. So basically saying he is always going to continue to grow, and he's going to continue to persevere. And what's really interesting is that there are zero apologies given by Jonathan Majors in the speech whatsoever, because again, he believes that he is innocent, and it's very clear he is now making his comeback as an actor. It's also very clear that clearly there are a lot of people that either believe that he is actually innocent and should not have been found guilty, or they still support him regardless because they believe that he deserves a second chance, which now again opens up this new conversation of whether or not he could actually return to the MCU as Kang now that he is acting again and has won a Perseverance Award showing that people really are behind him. Would this alter Marvel Studios' minds in any way? Now, we had this conversation on the channel not too long ago in one of our podcast episodes, but like I said, I think it's changed now. Marvel Studios obviously waited until the exact moment where he was found guilty to fire him. And honestly, kudos to them for waiting that long, because a lot of other companies didn't wait that long. Right when the allegations came out, they fired him. They didn't wait to see what the court said. And at the same time, he didn't kill anybody. Yes, he was found guilty of domestic abuse, and that is terrible. Obviously, no one should ever do that. No one should ever abuse a spouse or anybody for that fact. And that's why Marvel fired him. But I think the question now is, will he be given a second chance? Because before, a lot of the questions were, well, what if he appeals and what if he wins? Will Marvel take him back then? And sure, if that happens and he wins, then he definitely has a better chance. But I do think that that might almost be irrelevant, because I think the fact to focus on here is a second chance for Jonathan Majors. People love second chances. People love a comeback story. And he is doing what the court requires. He is going to therapy, a year of domestic violence counseling. But if you take a look at really famous people who are caught in pretty big scandals, a lot of them actually come back from the scandals. Think about Tiger Woods, one of the greatest golfers of all time, got caught in a big scandal with a bunch of different women who were not his wife. He lost all of his sponsors, basically everything, but he came back. He got it all back. He got Nike back, but in fact, this year he left Nike for TaylorMade, which is a golf company, and they formed a company together. He was given a second chance, and his scandal seems like it was way bigger than what happened with Jonathan Majors. Again, not encouraging domestic abuse at all. I never would. But I think the biggest thing with Jonathan Majors is because of all the footage that we saw, a lot of people really don't think that he actually did abuse his ex-girlfriend. And I think that is one of the biggest reasons why a lot of people do want him back as Kang the Conqueror. And I do think it is actually possible now. Before, I definitely thought we were done. But now that he's been cast in a movie, he's won this award, he's doing his counseling, his therapy, who knows, maybe Marvel Studios will rehire him. Again, they rehired James Gunn, and maybe they don't want to miss out on Jonathan Majors becoming a rising star again. And you know, they are planning to kind of sideline Kang just a little bit from what we've heard. Maybe that'll give them more time to possibly speak with Jonathan Majors again. However, we are expecting some sort of an announcement about Kang at San Diego Comic-Con next month, so we'll have to wait and see. But I would say, and this is just my personal opinion, it's not impossible anymore. He could definitely make a return. I think he's going to make a return to acting and Hollywood in a big way, and I think he'll be a star again. But the only question is, will he be a star in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? We'll have to wait and see on that, but as always, let me know your thoughts about this in the comments down below. What do you think? Should Jonathan Majors return as Kang the Conqueror? Leave your comments below, and please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on all things relating to the MCU. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.